A lot of us are sold this idea that we should declutter our homes, whether it's from a declutter organization expert, like it's about like aesthetics, right? Like I'm 37. I grew up with like Pinterest. It's like, do it and your house will look perfect and tidy and amazing 24/7. And I feel like that has inadvertently caused so much harm to our psyche, whether you're neurotypical or ADHD or culture has given us this version of success that isn't even possible, first of all. So I kind of like to bring that up because we have the power to choose our own version of success. And we've all been kind of spoon fed this lie and myth that in order to be the best homemaker, mom, wife, or in order for your home to support your family best or be productive and efficient, this, that, and the other, like it has to look like a Pottery Barn ad or Pinterest or Instagram. It's simply not true.
Welcome to Successful with ADHD. I'm Brooke Schnittman. Let's get started. Welcome back to another episode of Successful with ADHD. This one is going to hit your home and it's going to hit your heart. Katy Wells here, author of Making Home Your Happy Place. The struggle is real with ADHD. And the real life guide to decluttering without overwhelm. Wouldn't that be nice? She created Holistic Decluttering, an approach that tackles clutter at its roots and pairs it with simple, sustainable systems. And Katy is the host of the Maximized Minimalist podcast with over 5 million listeners. And Katy helps families break the cycle of clutter that keeps coming back. Her work has been featured on NBC News Daily, Martha Stewart, and Real Simple. And she lives in Asheville, North Carolina with her husband and 2 sons. How peaceful.
I sure love it
kind
here.
of. Yeah. So we're going to rip the Band-Aid off and just talk about some of the biggest lies we've been fed. And I know in your book you talk about how we think clutter is just a mess problem.
Yes.
But if you live with ADHD, you already know that's not true. Clutter hits really deep. It hits your nervous system. It hits what you say you are, your identity, and your sense of control. So today we're digging into the real reasons behind it, especially with neurodivergence, the stories, the shame, the emotional weight, and how to finally get unstuck. So I want to start with a thing you call this stuff story.
Oh, yeah.
Everyone
Let's do
has
it.
one. Yeah. And most people have no idea it exists.
Mm-hmm.
And I can deeply relate to this because your story of after your husband had his accident and then coming home to a bunch of kids' toys everywhere throughout the house and leaning on your friends to help you clear the clutter. So it can be so hard to keep up with the clutter, especially with a neurodivergent household of a toddler and teen boys, and then having ADHD myself. So what's the hidden stuff story most people don't realize is ruining their home? And why does it hit differently for someone with ADHD?
Yeah. So I guess I'll answer your question, but just to add some context on why this matters, just like you said, I think a lot of us are sold this idea that we should declutter our homes, whether it's from a declutter or organization expert, like it's about like aesthetics, right? Like I'm 37. I grew up with like Pinterest, or like that was a thing when like I became a mom and got a home. Now it's like Instagram, TikTok, whatever, but it's like, do it and your house will look perfect and tidy and amazing 24/7. And I feel like that has inadvertently caused so much harm to our psyche, whether you're neurotypical or ADHD or culture, which dovetails with your stuff story. We'll talk about that in a second. Like, has given us this version of success that isn't even possible, first of all. So I kind of like to bring that up because we have the power to choose our own version of success. And we've all been kind of spoon fed this lie and myth that in order to be the best homemaker, mom, wife, or in order for your home to support your family best or be productive and efficient, this, that, and the other, like it has to look like a Pottery Barn ad or Pinterest or Instagram. It's simply not true. But beyond clutter just being annoying, and no one likes the aesthetics that come from clutter, I want to highlight just a couple different studies to like bring this home. So research from UCLA found that women who describe their homes as either cluttered or messy have elevated levels of cortisol throughout the day. So clutter is literally keeping our bodies in a stress response. They also found a direct correlation between the amount of things in your home and your stress. All right. So I also like to consider the flip side of that coin, right? This is why it freaking feels so good to let stuff go, right? So the more we get rid of, the less our stress comes down. And Princeton Neuroscience Institute, took it further, and they used brain scans and found that clutter competes for your attention and your visual cortex. So it's reducing our ability to focus, to process information, and hold things in our working memory. And when you think about it this way, the average American home has over 300,000 items in it, Brooke.
Excuse me, what? 300,000?
300,000. 300,000. Okay. So it's like, no wonder we're stressed. Sometimes from the second we open our eyes in the morning.
That is like unfathomable. 300,000.
300,000. And now I'm going to take it a step further. Are you ready for this? So
I'm getting stressed out listening to this.
Okay. But we're going to counterbalance this. Okay. It's all about balance, right? If we stop looking at stuff as just annoying or stuff or whatever, items, and instead reframe that to a more realistic truth was every item in my home is a magnet for my attention, right? That's like having 300,000 browsers open on your computer. How do you think your computer is going to function? It's going to slow down. It's going to glitch. It's going to like light on fire, And now we add ADHD to that, right? Because all of that was neurotypical in those studies. Sure. This is a brain that, it's working harder at filtering focus and working memory. And one study found that adults with ADHD spend twice as long as neurotypical adults just looking for things. And this ends up, get this, okay, I promise we're going to make this all better. This ends up being about a year of life just looking for stuff. So when I talk about clutter, and a reason I'm so passionate about this, it's not about the aesthetics. Like I'm talking about your nervous system, your brain function, your time, your energy, your life, your happiness, right? This is what it's about.
Yeah. Yeah. Wow. Such powerful information. It's funny because I'm sitting here staring at clutter and one of it says, I swear I have it all together. I just forgot where I put it. And it's so true. Like I literally was talking about this yesterday. I train ADHD coaches and we were talking about the clutter inside of us and outside of us and how it hijacks the amygdala when we're trying to look for things, when it's out of order and there's too much going on. And then our executive functions just shut down. They simply don't work. And of course, we're going to get emotionally dysregulated and the shame spiral of everything. Oh, we're not good enough. We can never do this. And then, of course, if you try to organize in an ADHD household, you don't even want to start. Or you start and then everything explodes and then you don't have the energy to keep going. Yes. And now you feel like even worse of a failure. So where do we even start with all of this?
Yeah. And this is where you start too. And I want to highlight something you said. So you put was that a coaster, by the way?
Oh, it was a coaster.
This is so cute, first of all. Okay.
Thank you.
So again, speaking to the myths and kind of beliefs that we've been sold is that mess and clutter are the same thing. And mess and clutter should be feared, right? And here's why that matters. Mess and clutter are different things. So this is something I had to really discover along my own journey because we've all experienced, I cleaned the countertops, I put stuff away, I did the dishes, then my kids came home and it looked like a tornado came through my house. Mm-hmm. What is wrong with me? Why can't I figure this out? I'm not organized enough. I'll never be able to do this. And then cue shame, cue resentment, cue screaming at your kids because why did it, right? It's hard. And I realized, oh my gosh, mess is not the enemy. No matter how tidy, no matter how organized, no matter how minimalist you are, mess is a side effect of being a living, breathing human being. So here's the nuance though. Our brain can't tell the difference between, hey, the dishes that need to be done, that's expected mess. I call it expected mess now, me and my community, because like we need to learn to expect it, right? It's not like a moral failure. And clutter is the stuff that isn't actively supporting you, your lifestyle, right? It's hindering you. So because our brain can't filter that out, because it's magnets, it's noise. I always start by telling my clients, you have to learn to tell your brain, it's okay, this is expected, and here's how we handle it. And I do that with what we call a reset in our communities. This is where you reset your space back to its baseline tidiness level, whatever that looks like for you. And you can do this in what I call expected mess hotspots, entryways, kitchens. So think about, like, a lot of us tend to clear, the kitchen, kind of tidy it up after dinner, right? And that's so we don't have the mess the next day. And so it's applying that same philosophy and keeping our brain to less of an overwhelm and the mess down, right? Which go hand in hand, so that we can think clear. Our home is, cleaner, that type of thing. And that is that really, really, really helps. So for a while, it's just retraining your brain to not panic. Like, again, that coaster you showed, that was adorable. That's not clutter. And I think it matters because the meaning we assign stuff, and just like we do this with our stuff, like words matter. Like, words matter. It is not clutter. The stuff, like the toys your kids are playing with that are out on the floor, I know it's annoying, but you can tell yourself, oh, this isn't clutter. This is expected mess. These are things that add to our lives. We're using it. It's on the floor. I don't like that. So we'll solve it by doing a reset before dinner at the end of the night. Okay. So I think that's so important, just to remind ourselves of. We have to normalize it. Mess is normal.
So we change the messaging that we're telling ourselves.
Yes.
Mess is normal. It's really a cycle, right? So it is expected that there are going to be dishes in the sink. There is going to be laundry going with all the multiple steps of laundry. We're currently making our clothes dirty. We're going to have laundry after this call probably. So reframing and remessaging and reprogramming the messaging. Okay, step one.
Okay. Step two is then, okay, what is clutter? All right. So a lot of people come to me, they're like, I've just been diagnosed. Like, I know a lot of, women get diagnosed later in life for a lot of different reasons now. So I have women coming to me in their 30s, 40s, 50s, 60s being like, oh my gosh, I was diagnosed with ADHD. This makes so much sense to why a lot of traditional decluttering methods maybe haven't been working for me, right? The classic mistake I see time and time again, and didn't work for me either as a neurotypical, was pull everything out. What? Cue Overwhelm, right?
Talk about, right, the cortisol.
I'm like, this is the worst thing literally anyone can do. So with my ADHDers, I say
I need to put the fan on.
I know. We're getting hot. We're getting hot. Me too. Oh my God. Okay. So here's what we do, right? Here's what I do with my ADHDers. Give your brain one job. It's not declutter the closet. It's not, oh my gosh, I need to open every single box in my garage. It's one category at a time. And here's what I mean by this. So why this tends to work a lot better for ADHD brains is when you work by category, you're making the same decision over and over and over. So I always start with the lowest hanging fruit, which is trash, right? If you are in like your teenager's room and you're like, clean up your room, and they're like, I don't know how, or I'm overwhelmed, right? Or maybe you feel that way. Start with just one category, trash, right? Trash. Is this trash? Is this trash? Is this trash? Your brain gets into that rhythm. And it's, you don't have to think so hard. You don't have to be like, is this clutter? Do I want this? Is it worth selling? Like all the different questions, and decision fatigue hits real hard.
Sure.
So you're not making 100 different decisions. So you start with trash and then go into the next layer. And you can do this over 10 minutes or 30 seconds or whatever time you have to give, right? So that's always step one. You're stacking those few easy wins. And again, even with just trash off the counter, I was like, whatever, candy wrappers or soda cans. I say pop, really. I'm from the Midwest. Soda just sounds like weird.
Do you say
I don't
tennis
like that
shoes too?
Yeah. Is that not a thing?
Tennis shoes for me are actually tennis sneakers, like that you play tennis with. I say sneakers.
Oh yeah. I don't use the word sneakers. That sounds like I don't know. Is it like bougie? It sounds like, I don't know, but I get it. Yeah. It takes all kinds, right? So, you get your pop cans, recycle those, all the things. And it helps you build momentum before you touch anything that requires, a little more brain power.
Sure.
So start there. Years ago, I developed something really with the intention of helping teach my kids learn how to notice mess and take action on it without me having to nag or be like, clean up every 30 minutes. And this acronym I'll share also really helps adults, but I think especially ADHDers, because it just helps break it down into a really simple, repeatable rhythm. So LAP is an acronym, stands for look, assess, and put away. So look is just, again, you're scanning for your one category. Again, start with trash. If depending on where you are, maybe next is like recyclables. I don't know. And then we can go into other things. So assess is really simple. Trash. Is this clutter? Is this a keeper? So you're really just kind of trying to funnel things into 3 mental categories. You're not having to carve out like physical categories if you don't want to. It's like the mental categorization. And keeping it to 3 options is helpful. If again, you're not sure, just pass it. Pass it for now.
Put away. Yeah. So I'm looking at this. I'm assessing. What am I assessing? Am I going to keep it? Am I going to throw it away? What am I assessing there?
You're assessing what it is. So is it expected mess? Right? Is this something we actively use, need, and is supporting me? Likely a lot of the stuff you are handling inside a room, a lot of it is expected mess. You're just putting back away in the moment when you're tidying up, right? The stuff that's landing on surface areas, the most of it is expected mess, not true clutter. It's just we didn't put it back where it belonged the first time. We're all guilty of this. By the way, another favorite acronym, I'm an acronym person. Sorry, I know it gets annoying.
No, it's great for the ADHD
it's really
brain.
easy. Okay, good.
Memory. Yeah.
Okay. So Ohio, only handle it once. This has truly changed my life and my kids. I'll just say like Ohio, and they know what I'm talking about. So if you're from Ohio,
for under 2 minutes, right?
Yeah, same thing applies. You probably heard don't put it down, put it away.
Put it away.
If you can do this under 30 seconds, don't wait, do it now. I just, again, my brain likes acronyms. So only handle it once. But the reality is like, we're going to put whatever, the piece of paper or the homework to sign off on the counter to handle later. That's fine too. So this is what we're doing. Is it expected mess? Something I need to handle, put away, do something with? Is it clutter? Okay. If it's clutter, the solution, the action, right? Or the put away part isn't to put the clutter away where it lives. It's to put it away in the donation station. So speaking to that action point, one big thing I highly think is so helpful and under discussed in this decluttering space is designing your environment to help support you do what you want to do. So I have a chapter in the book on onboarding family. This is good for onboarding yourself too, just making it easier for you to declutter or put things away the first time. And one of the frameworks is design for follow through, because environment is the invisible hand that shapes our behavior. So I'll give you an example. Let's just say you're going through LAP and you're like out looking at your kitchen counter. You're like, okay, my husband always puts his keys on the freaking counter. And it's really annoying because there's a key holder right over there, right?
Or the massage gun, or the pens, or the meds, or
that's right. And so, yes, I'm not going to say like, of course we all have bad habits. Sometimes we just have a habit of like dropping our stuff on the counter. But if it's a recurring pain point, I like to always start with looking at the environment. Like, does my home environment make it easy for my husband to put his keys away? So I might go, oh, you know what? I'm looking at the key holder. It is filled with clutter. He can't even hang it up if he wants to. He can't even reach it. He can't even access it. Or maybe you're like, you know what? The key holder is 50 feet away on the other side of my home because some organization expert said, you should put your keys here. But really, when you're looking at your house, you're like, well, that doesn't make sense, because every friction point you have to put stuff away means you're less likely to put it away the first time. It's harder, right? So really simple tweaks and maybe a little loving conversation or follow through can make a big, big difference. And speaking to the put away action for the clutter that you spot throughout your day as you're doing these resets or using this LAP method, we've all heard, and tell me if you haven't heard this, I feel like 100% of the women I've talked to have heard this. Everything should have a home, right? Everything should have a home. Yes. By the way, I used to roll my eyes at that advice and really hate it, but it is true. So I was like, you know what? If everything should have a home, and environment is the invisible hand that shapes human behavior, why don't I have a dedicated permanent home for clutter I spot throughout my day? So I came up with a donation station. I like alliteration. Again, it's just how my brain works. Okay. So it could be literally go get an Amazon box that you have not broken down yet.
Mm-hmm.
You're
Mm-hmm.
like waiting for your husband and like, come on, dude. Like they're building up. It's the holiday season. Grab one of those, grab a recycling bin, shop your house. It doesn't have to be perfect. And put one in a visible, accessible area in your home.
So that's a category. So you talked about trash, right? And here's the donation station. I'm just curious if we could take a step back for a second. So you mentioned baseline, having the baseline, and I am living through this now. I have a client who's living through this as well. With ChatGPT and Pinterest and TikTok and Instagram and YouTube, yes, there are so many things that we think should be our baseline. And I know we talked about changing your story, but how does one know what their baseline is? Is that something you work on with them?
It's not a conversation that comes up a ton other than just whatever works for you and your season and your capacity, right? My home has stuff on the countertops, and I feel like, just like we talked about, the culture swings so far the other way. It goes from like everything on your countertops to like, looks like nobody lives in the house. And I feel like you just have to find your own harmony. And again, so I'm a mom.
And you're
my
saying
kids are
not listening to everything else, like ChatGPT that says, no, you only need 3 items on that console.
Oh,
you
no.
cannot have 5. That looks cluttered.
No, these invisible rules are doing more damage, right? They do so much damage. And I don't think so many of us recognize that, because if you're anything like me, what happens when we have more than 3 things? Oh, I'm not organized enough. Oh, I'm never going to be that tidy. Oh my gosh, I'm such a horrible person. I just can't figure my life out, right?
Yep.
That shame that builds is so real. The expectation between where the world or our favorite organization influencer says our homes should be, that goalpost, and where we are in between, we are just filled with shame. And that means like, I'm not going to invite people over because I'm too embarrassed about my house. Or again, it's just this mental clutter.
I clean the whole house in 2 hours before everyone comes over.
Yeah.
It's like a hard rampage. Yeah. Especially for people with ADHD. But yes, definitely changing the story and figuring out your own baseline is what I'm hearing from you.
Yeah, absolutely. I really think so decluttering is a skill, right? And I think, again, we're kind of sold this oversimplified version of it. Follow this checklist and you'll be clutter-free forever. And it's like, what? So understanding that it's a skill, and especially with things like ChatGPT and podcasts and books and all the information on decluttering, we need to start just taking messy action. Like just try. If you don't have 10 minutes, do 30 seconds. One of my favorite things.
Momentum.
Yes. I mean, trying to do it right, the way we think or the way we're kind of being sold is the right way. Pull it out, do your pantry in 6 hours, invest $1,000 in like clear bins for your pantry. I'm like, my kids are going to destroy that in 30 seconds or less. Like, I don't care. I completely decluttered that as an end goal of mine.
Yes. The chips are now with the chocolate and the sweets are with the savory. Yeah.
Yeah. And if that's your thing.
Yeah.
And if that brings you joy, and if you like decanting and you're like, your heart smiles and sings, like, do it. My heart does not smile and sing for that kind of thing.
Very hard with a neurodivergent household to keep up with that.
It's one more thing,
Yeah.
More noise, more magnets, right?
Okay. So I just want to challenge that too. So with ADHD, we hate structure, but we thrive on it at the same time.
Yeah.
So many of us need to be told, or think we need to be told, this is what we need. This is it. Let's try to keep up with that.
The standard.
This is our standard. And this is what we're going to keep up with. What progress looks like, what the end goal is, like the rigid thinking of, I need it to be this way. So how do you change that messaging? How do you rewire that in the people that you're working with who are neurodivergent?
One of my favorite things that helps my neurodivergent and also neurotypical, but I think especially my ADHDers, is helping them understand that decluttering doesn't have to be a separate task. And so if you look at any or listen to any habit expert, the best way to start a new habit, because I hear from people all the time, oh, I really should declutter. Oh, I really need to do that. Oh, I'm adding it to my to-do list, right? And it becomes one more thing. And it's an easy can to kick down the road, right? It's because it feels like an extra task. But if you think about it, whether you work outside of your home, inside of your home, stay at home mom, literally doesn't matter. We have hundreds of opportunities when we are at our home in the morning, making breakfast, cooking, cleaning up, whatever, throwing a hot pocket in the toaster oven for our kids. We're running late. These are all opportunities that we have to quickly scan our environment and just notice anything that isn't serving me, which is clutter, right? That's my definition of clutter. And if you have that donation station set up, visible, accessible, low friction, you're going to be able to go, okay, hey, I don't want that. I don't want this anymore. It's clutter. Boom, into the donation station it goes.
Yeah.
And so I think setting that up as a baseline target of just number one, putting a touch more intention into how you're scanning stuff throughout your day. You're putting clean clothes away. Instead of putting the jeans that are 2 sizes too small away in your kid's dresser, which I used to do because I said, I don't want to deal with this right now, or I don't have time, add it to a donation station, right? Make it easy for yourself. And whether it's doing the dishes, unloading the dishwasher, that's an opportunity to go, oh my gosh, those mugs that are sitting in the back of that cabinet, they literally have a 1/4 inch of dust on them. I've had an opportunity to use that. And that's really my go-to question along the line too, as far as like a standard or something to help like that decision filter, right? Have I had the opportunity to use this in the last 6 months? That is like my golden, I still use it. It's like chef's kiss. It's so, so good. It's not, is this useful? It's not, do I love this? Does this spark joy? And don't get me wrong, different types of clutter and items, you can use different questions. I don't believe in one size fits all methods, truly. But this question helps bring in objectivity into something for a lot of people that can feel very emotional, or kind of we get stuck between our ears, right? And so have I had the opportunity to use this in the last 6 months? If you've had the opportunity to use that coffee mug, Brooke, to wear that pair of sneakers.
Good job.
Then, thank you. I tried. I was like, wait, what's the word again? Then it helps balance the scales, right? And you might not be like, well, then I all of a sudden feel 100% confident and like you decluttering everything. But we're bringing more of a framework into it. And you can ask that question really quickly as you're scanning your environment and doing all these everyday things.
Yeah, I love that this becomes part of a lifestyle. I also, going back to the donation station, just want to point out that for us, we definitely need low friction donation too. So for me, I have a next door neighbor who has a daughter who is a year under my daughter. So literally we have an agreement. It's like, just put anything that you need in my front door and I'll deal with it. So I don't try to sell. I don't, sometimes I'll go to Goodwill if I can, but like otherwise it's your problem. It right
is
there.
So true. And people get like 90% there. They're like, well, what do I do when the donation bin is filled up? I'm like, again, we want to keep friction low.
For a year?
Yeah, guilty. I didn't go a year, but I probably did like 3 months. And then I have to take it out when I put the groceries in, and I put it back in with the best intention. And then oh my gosh, at least I got a workout. I guess it's like the one positive side of like pulling it in out like 18,000 times. But the more steps it takes to do something, the less likely we are to follow through, right?
100%.
And so just use AI to help you, but here are a couple of things I highly recommend. Spend like literally 60 seconds and ask ChatGPT if that's your thing, or Google. Okay, we can still live in Google if we want to. What local charities, businesses, or organizations do donation pickups? Right. And then you can quickly find out which ones do. Another great resource is, and I know it involves Facebook, and yes, it involves extra steps, but here's why I'm suggesting this. Every single one of us, I think, cringe at the thought of our stuff a little bit not going to a good home. And that holds so many women back. They're like, well, I don't feel good just donating it anywhere. I want it to go to a good home. Right. And there's a lot of psychological concepts around that, which we don't have to talk about. But your local Buy Nothing group, do you use your Buy Nothing group, or have you heard of it? It's BUY Nothing.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
On Facebook.
So this is really helpful, I find, for if you have a lot of bulk of something. So I used it for maternity wear. So after we were done having kiddos, I had all this maternity clothes and I just wanted it to go to a good home. I really did. And because there was so much, I'm like, I don't want to donate. I don't know. I just wanted it to go to a person that was local in my community, I guess. So I posted a picture. I'm like, I have like, I don't know, 30 tops, 20 leggings, and that's it. Like I just posted really quickly. And I'm not kidding you, within 24 hours, that stuff was completely out of my house. And I met this girl at Home Depot and she like cried and I cried. And she's like, I am so grateful. And Brooke, like I'm telling you, we all get like, it's biology that we get like dopamine hits when we buy stuff, right? Or add to cart even.
Sure.
This was like the ultra dopamine hit. I'm like, this feels so good. But I also want to give you permission. Yes. Like if you're not in a season right now to even post on Facebook, or maybe you notice like, oh my gosh, when I go on Facebook, I'm like doom scrolling on accident for an hour. Like then don't do that. You know yourself best, right?
Sure.
But I do think it can be a great option other than people coming over or organizations, charities coming over to pick it up. Like we want to delegate. It could be a partner. Maybe we ask our teenage kid, like, I'll give you $5 every time you go to Goodwill. Like sometimes we need to get creative, right?
I'm so glad that you said that. And there's no shame in it. Again, the same client that I was telling you about, we were talking about that, like using her assistant to help her with the first decision of finding a place to donate or redecorate.
Yes.
But that's okay. There's nothing wrong with it. For me, when I moved from New York, I had such a monstrosity of, you talk about 300,000 items. Like, I don't even know how many jackets I had. And I needed my neurotypical friend to come over and say, you will never use this in Florida. Get rid of it.
Which really, I mean, wouldn't you say that's like a version of like body doubling, right?
It's body doubling.
Yeah. Even someone. So, I mean, I've been on like, put Zoom on or FaceTime with clients who are like live in Wyoming or like California. I'm in North Carolina. Having someone in there, it could be your bestie, it could be whomever, like, hey, will you just sit with me on the phone? I don't need you always have to say anything. It can really help. So
it really does.
I'm glad you brought that up.
Okay. Yes. So we talked about step 1, which is changing the messaging. Step 2 is having categories like trash or donation, or, there's obviously more. What's step 3?
Step 3 is knowing which tool to use as you start to spot clutter, right? And I gave you like my golden rule. Have I had the opportunity to use this? That's a great question for really any type of clutter, but it really applies to the first two. So really briefly, throughout my own means and my journey, I realized like those kind of questions that are supposed to be all encompassing didn't work with certain clutter for me. So I'll give you a great example. I might say, have I had the opportunity to use this, yellow highlighter that's in the back of my junk drawer? And I'd be like,
is it dried out?
It's not dried out, right? It's not dried out. Yeah, I checked that, right? And I go, well, I've had the opportunity. I didn't use it, but what if I need a highlighter in 6 months? What if all of a sudden, what if I get an email from my kid's teacher saying she needs 300 highlighters?
Help with this, please. Tell me. What's the trick?
So that comes from fear, right? Speaking to my whole philosophy is getting to the root of it. Everyone has that fear, that scarcity. So it's not a moral failure to question, like, do I need this? So that type of clutter along the way, I gave a name, scarcity clutter, right? What if I need this? This costs money. This is useful. I might need it one day. Going deeper, we'll go through the layers really quick, and then we can talk about some tools. So you have, superficial is really the easiest low-hanging fruit clutter. So if you look at clutter like an onion, that's the easiest stuff to let go of. The question I gave you can help, but often you don't need a strategy, a tool, a rule, anything. It's just like a little intention, like clutter audits, like I talked about. Boom, easy, no emotion, just like let it go. Scarcity clutter is the next inside the onion, right? We got to work from the outside in. And then we have sentimental clutter. We've all heard of this. A lot of us kind of easily self-identify as sentimental, or at least know what it is. This is emotions, nostalgia. And then I really discovered a fourth type of clutter, which I call identity clutter. And these are items that represent who you used to be, who you are right now, who you want to be, who other people think you should be, right? These types of things are so loaded. And we can talk about all of these things, but that's scary. So most people declutter just focusing on superficial clutter. But when they face that internal resistance, what if, but this costs money, we stop. And so we wonder why we make a little progress and then stuff continues to fill, right? It's just like, we need to continue going. Don't get me wrong. There's lots of different tools. Each chapter on my book, I hit on each of these different clutter types. But one of my favorites for scarcity clutter actually is like something the minimalists coined, the two guys, the minimalists coined years ago. And that is the 20-20 rule. So that is, can I replace this for under $20 and in less than 20 minutes? Now, the reality is so many of us live in a day and age where time isn't really an issue. We have Amazon Prime, we have delivery to our doorstep. So if 20 minutes doesn't apply, you can drop the time. Most of my clients end up just picking a dollar amount that works for their finances, for their goals. So maybe you make it $15, maybe you make it $30. So then we can kind of combine that with the opportunity rule question. Have I had the opportunity to use this in the last 6 months? And you go, no, but what if I need it, right? And then you can go kind of like a decision flow chart, right? You know those? I love those things. They're so helpful. So then we're going to, I haven't had the opportunity to use it, but I'm afraid to let it go. Can I replace this for under $30 if I need it in the future? And if it's yes, then into the donation station it goes. You're just giving your brain something concrete, not something elusive, and thinking about best case scenario. And I also, too, want to go back to one of the first questions you asked that we didn't talk about, which is your stuff story. Your stuff story, everyone has one. This is at the end of the day, your stuff story is formed by 3 different pillars. Culture informs our stuff story, which is the way we assign meaning to stuff. It impacts our relationship, what we buy, what we keep, what we struggle with. And we all have one. So culture is a big one. Think about how we're marketed to, how we're sold to. The cultural messaging we talked about related to motherhood and stuff and being organized, same thing applies towards our stuff. Culture tells us to cling to stuff just in case. Buy the sale, get the extra stuff. Go to Costco and fill up your cart because the sale is going to be gone, right? All of this stuff impacts those objections and create those objections along the way. And then you have historical. So historical is your personal life experience. Listen, if you've been through financial insecurity, if you lost a job, if you grew up with someone, parents or caregivers who
from the depression or
my grandmother was like, waste not, want not. We keep everything. Decluttering literally wasn't in the dictionary. She doesn't even know. My grandpa lived to 100 and a half. We count that last 6 months at the beginning and the end, don't we? And he was like, what does decluttering mean? You know, he did not understand what I did. And I totally get it. It's historical. And then of course you have your personal lens too. And that makes a big difference. Just your own life experiences. We've all had moments. This is me too, where I'm like, oh man, I'll see myself in a picture of myself in like a cute top. And I'm like, that's a cute top. I decluttered that. Dang it. And then I like kind of internally
I'm
kick
so
myself.
glad you said that.
And
what do we do about that?
Yes. Here's the thing. And then we go, I made a mistake. I messed up.
I'm never doing that again.
I'm never doing it again.
I held on to that top for 10 years and now it's back in style. What was I thinking?
Your brain will rationalize. It's really good at rationalizing keeping things. Right. And in a way, we are all biologically wired to keep things because keeping things, by the way, acquiring things used to mean survival. If you were a cave person and went out in the woods and you found a flint, right? You were like, I just hit the jackpot. I'm going to live another day. I can make a fire, right? This is how we are wired. So I'm saying that to say we cannot base our decisions only on what's going on between our ears and our past experiences. And I still tell myself this, Brooke, it's the exception, not the rule. 98% of the things I get rid of, I never think about again. And it's so freeing. It's so freeing. But for that 2%, you see that photo, you're like, oh, where'd those sneakers go? I decluttered them. I remind myself, well, why? And then I go through that decision tree I went through, right? I had the opportunity to wear them. I didn't. That is the proof of the pudding. We can't go on what ifs. We can't go on, what if I decide to play tennis 20 years down the road in retirement? I'll keep all this tennis supplies, you know? And a lot of people think too, well, it's really wasteful. It's just wasteful. A lot of people cling because it just feels wasteful to donate. But the reality is, a reframe that really helps me still to this day is it's more wasteful to hang on to something and not use it than to pass it along to someone who will gain so much joy and satisfaction and happiness from that. Right?
Yes. I love the why behind it and the decision tree. I do a why funnel with my clients as well with making decisions. And because we struggle with object permanence,
yes,
I do. And I know this is probably adding to the digital clutter, but when something is meaningful to you, I'm wondering if we should have that somewhere where we can access the decision tree that we've made.
Yes. I personally love one thing for like my sentimentalists or people, you know, with the identity clutter is really reframing. Because it's like, if everything is special, then nothing really is. I think maybe some of us have heard that. And it's like, that makes sense. And we're like, oh yeah. But then when we're like opening a box of stuff from high school and like seeing our trophies, we're like, but everything, why can't I let go of this? So it's like going from a collector to a curator. And I think a lot of times, and like, if you think about a museum, I love museums. I could spend all my days in museums. I just find them so, they just fill my heart. And when you're looking in a museum, you're walking around looking at paintings on the wall. This is intentional paintings. A museum curator curated the best of the best to tell the best story, to hang up, speaking of object permanence, things they want you to see because they want you to feel a certain way, right? Or appreciate the art or connect to the art or connect to your soul, whatever it is. And we can do the same thing with our homes, even if we have messy teenagers, even if we have messy toddlers. And I think I'm so glad you brought that up because a lot of things just sit in a box and that's okay. Maybe you open the box once a year, look at your trophies, look at those physical photos of you as like a 10-year-old kiddo hanging out with your girlfriends when we still had physical prints or whatever. And you're like, oh, that's fine. Get a cup of tea, do that. But I think some of them deserve maybe a little more thought, like, can I integrate this into my everyday life? If it's a recipe from your grandmother, you used to bake with her, why not hang it up, frame it if it's meaningful enough to you? I had fake antique flowers my mom made my whole wedding bouquet out of. So of course those don't die. And that's just, I move it all around my house in different seasons. It's in my closet right now. I see it every day. And it reminds me of what I want to be reminded of, right? My wedding day was a very special day. So not that you have to do that with everything, but I think it's like we can extract more from this stuff when we see it.
Yeah. And something to add to that, if I may, this might not be sentimental stuff, but I think we need to also normalize that it's okay, especially for an ADHD brain, to have a junk drawer or to allow your children to have a messy closet and close the closet and as a parent just not look at it, or allow them to have a messy room and that's their room, that's their space, right? So we can only control what we can control. So allowing some of that mess to be a mess, right? And look the other way.
That's right. And I think, you know, going back to that question of like, well, what's the baseline? Like, what's the structure? What are we striving for? It's like, that's what's so cool. You get to decide. And you know what? It can change in different seasons. Maybe you were once okay with your teenager, like shutting the door to his or her room. And now you're like, all right, it's getting a little out of hand. Like I got to step in. Like you can make
coming from underneath the door. I'm smelling rotten banana peels and candy wrappers. This is not okay.
And I think that's the beauty of it. I think it's like, can we find inspiration from these, you know, people online? And I think that's fine and great and dandy. But when we start kind of taking their benchmarks and making it subconsciously our own, it's going to always feel like a fight, you know? And again, going back to the crux of it, it's like decluttering doesn't have to be a marathon weekend if you don't want it to be. I don't recommend you even do that. You can fit decluttering into your life, whether you have 30 seconds a day or 5 minutes a day.
I'm like trying to stop myself from laughing because this while you're talking, I'm thinking of my almost 4-year-old. We're trying to declutter some of her baby toys. And as I see something around the house, to your point, I'll just grab it and try to hide it. But of course, she is pretty thrifty and she finds it.
This is why you need a donation bin that is solid and not see-through.
Correct.
And is out of sight for your kiddo.
Correct.
Yeah.
This morning we have like one of those old telephones with a cord and like the thing that goes around.
The rotary?
Yes, the rotary
I'm
telephone.
Obsessed. I want one.
So you could have hers. I'll ship it to you. And so she takes it out of the donation bin and she's like, I want this. Let's move it back to my room. And then she gets on the phone and starts talking and having a conversation. Of course, it melts my heart, right? But I mean, like, this is literally ingrained in us from like childhood, right? To like hold on to stuff.
It is. And I think too, I just want to highlight something I didn't realize because I thought, dang, my kids are just I was like, are they going to be hoarders? Like truly, I was like fearful. I'm like, they wouldn't let go of anything when they're around that age. And then a dear friend of mine who's a childhood psychologist is like, Katy, like these aren't adults. These are children. Their prefrontal cortexes are not fully developed until their mid-20s. And
sometimes
kids,
30 with ADHD. Yep.
Thank you. And kids don't, just like we assign meaning to stuff. We see that necklace our grandma gave us. It's not just a necklace to us. It is like, oh, right? Our kids do the same thing. But what's the nuance here is that they often can't tell where they stop and their stuff starts. They can see stuff as an extension of themselves. And a classic example is like the stuffy. If you left it at a hotel, like their life, they would be like, my life is over.
Oh, you're screwed. You're screwed. And they know the difference between the same exact one that's new and that's been washed 500 times. Yeah. Yeah.
This is it. And I think, again, it's like a lot of us are like, I just wish my kids would declutter more. And you know, like 5 and under, it's like, I typically made that call for my kids. I didn't want the fight. They don't understand. There's no reasoning. And
just
your child best. There's no right or wrong, contrary to what we're being sold, right? But as they get older, you can start having those discussions. And even too, Brooke, that question I asked, the opportunity rule question, you can do the same thing for your kids' stuff. Has she had the opportunity to use this rotary phone? And sometimes the answer is no, because it's been buried in the back of her closet. But the second you bring it out, she sees it, right? That's an opportunity. Sure. Now she's using it. So now to me, it's not active clutter. She's using it for a little while until she forgets about it and moves on.
Until tomorrow.
Right? Yeah. So you can apply that same mindset, same kind of decision filter.
Sure.
Going back to the heart of it, reframing some of the messaging, understanding and normalizing that for 99% of the population, it is not first nature or like easy to declutter. And I just can't hit that hard enough. And also understanding and creating and defining your baseline and what you are working towards. But at the end of the day, we know based on research and studies that the less stuff we have in our homes, the less stress we'll have. And I tell you what, I feel like we live in a day and age where everything feels so out of control. Like we check the news or we see this, or there's like tournaments and Christmas holiday parties and our schedules are busier than ever. Our lives can feel so hectic. Sure. And you can still start to control slowly through small doable steps, not 56 steps. Let's just shoot for 4, your home and the compounding impact over time. Really, I promise you, you will feel lighter. You will feel freer. You will be able to make decisions easier. It can impact in such a positive, beautiful way your relationship with your partner. I used to argue with my husband over like doing chores because when we had all this clutter, it made doing chores like way worse. There's a study that shows simply by decluttering our homes, it can save up to 40% of our time on normal household chores. Think about it. I used to spend 30 minutes picking up our toy mess. And now it takes us 5, that's a big difference. Think about what am I doing with the extra 25 minutes? I'm reading a book.
Whatever
I'm
I want.
Time with my partner. Whatever I want.
Yeah.
How good does that feel?
Right? Exactly.
I'm here for that. And
Oh yeah.
So I just want to offer everyone that there is hope. We can't expect and demand compliance and perfection from ourselves, let alone our families, but we can take messy action. And that messy action will still help us. And the investment is worth your time. I promise you.
Yeah. So it's a home that feels possible, a home that feels yours. And this really hits hard, I know, for me and for our listeners. So if you're listening, share it with a friend who's drowning in their own stuff story, and they need to know that they're not alone.
Yes.
So thank you, Katy, for being here. If someone wants to find you or your book, where can they go?
Yeah, come hang out on the podcast. If you're a podcast listener, obviously you are listening to this awesome one. I put out every Wednesday. It's called the Maximized Minimalist. And then my new book is out. It's called Making Home Your Happy Place, a real life guide to decluttering without the overwhelm. And I just want to share too that overwhelm is normal. We can expect overwhelm to happen, but inside the book, I give you what I call overwhelm off ramps, right? Just like when we're on the highway and we're going cruising and then we need to like get off, right? We all hit neurotypical ADHD, doesn't matter. We hit these moments where we question everything. We question our ability to adult. We're like, is this worth it? All the things we talked about, right? And so I have very strategic overwhelm off ramps because it's not a matter of if, it's when. And we need to normalize that. And we need to learn about the 4 clutter types, put the right tools in our tool belt so we can handle that when we're ready and the time comes. And we have some really great conversations in that. And I really designed the book to be a companion you reference time and time again, like a little dictionary you come back to, when you need it, because it's a skill and we're building on that skill. And I think, I know that can sound really like, skill.
You have to do the work, but yes, everything is work.
It's
Let's
work.
Not negatize that. Yeah.
That's right. It's work, but I would tell you it's worth it. It's worth it.
Yeah. Yeah. Thank you, Katy.
Thank you.
Thanks for listening to this episode of Successful with ADHD. I hope it helps you on your journey. And if you need any additional support for you or a loved one with ADHD, feel free to reach out to us at coachingwithbrooke.com and all social media platforms at Coaching with Brooke. And remember, it's Brooke with an E. Thanks again for listening. See you next time.